I would say that any being, good or bad, has an agenda. And we can't understand people's motives or aliens' motives. And we don't even understand where they're coming from. Are they coming from another planet? Are they coming from another dimension? We still have not figured any of this out. How evolved are they? How do their minds work? We may not even think the way they think. So how to determine if it's positive or negative is extremely difficult. Their motives may be beyond our comprehension. They may see the future. They may be pulling us towards a future that they have created for us. So are we being pulled along on a string, or are they here to save us? I think the answer is probably neither or both at the same time. So it's very hard to determine the motives and actions of beings that have been visiting us, and have probably been visiting us since the beginning of mankind.
Well, because I've studied many cases and investigations of ET contact with various individuals over the years, and under many subjects, I know that there are ETs that are benevolent, positive entities that have sought to help humanity, that have helped to uplift and assist us wherever they could. And, of course, there's also malevolent entities. This is not a monolithic topic. These are malevolent entities that have done terrible harm as well, like abductions that are against the will of these individuals. These people have gotten caught up. And so we know, I know, that both sides exist. There are benevolent alien visitors. There are malevolent alien visitors also. And we need to know how to tell the difference.
The ETs were the watchers, the guardians, and we're the children of the ETs. So up to a point, percentage-wise, we're part alien because they're the ones that we're the hybrids of the alien people. We could not have advanced this far over the time period it took for us to advance so fast. I do not believe in Charles Darwin theory. I do not believe in evolution, as they say so, nor do I believe in what they say in the Bible. It has to have been interference or interception by outside forces. That's why we have the intelligence, the technology, the spirituality, and the consciousness.
Just like humans, there are good, benevolent individuals, and on the same craft, there might be people who do not treat humans as well. And then you have your different groups of ETs, and some are known as being friendlier and more benevolent and more concerned about Earthlings than others who are basically just here to take what they can get.
Probably both, because I think that good ones are probably mistaken for bad ones, and that's why we're not able to have frequent encounters, because I think our military, the job of the Navy and the aerospace is to prevent any kind of air traffic that is not regulated in some way. If it's not official, if it's not documented or programmed properly into our system, then they actually try to get rid of anything in the air. So if there's a bad ET craft flying around and they're allowed to, then they may have some involvement with our governments or governments around the world.
The ET contact has been going on with us. How far back do you think?
I am an American Indian, and in our spiritual philosophy and information, they were here with us when we first started out what we call the fourth world. The third world and the Hopi and Zunis believe the third world was destroyed by what we're going through right now. So we're talking about thousands of years that have been with us. In recent times, about 1,000 years ago, they actually came to our villages. And this is where we had to, the American Indian Pueblo community had to have a truce with the alien people to not come over and interfere with our civilization, even though they're the ones that advance it. we've had abductions in the past also. And so in order to avoid abductions, they went into what they call the Kachina system. The Kachinas are gods, and the humans represent the ET and donning a costume or a mask. And this is seen throughout the whole world, whether it's been done in Mexico, Central America, and people that are actually wearing uniforms. And those are the ETs that are inside the uniforms.
I would say they're mostly benevolent because the fear and anxiety we experience today happens when we're not in the present moment. It happens because of past events or perceived future events. And so when extraterrestrials are communicating, it's happening from outside of time itself. And so we're experiencing time very differently. And so with that understanding, and the question of benevolence is like, well, I mean, you went to school where the kids mostly mean, was that your perception? If you're coming from a more developed, compassionate reality, humans might not seem so mean, but when you're actually here, you think, well, humans are kind of more messed up.
Right.
The sense I have is this planet needs the help.
Right.
So who's the bad guy? Well, I'd say
Right.
the criminals that are preventing the contact are the bad guys.
Having worked with Jim Marrs, he was a strong proponent that there is an alien agenda. And the big question is, what is that? How does it work with what we're doing here on Earth as human people? And what kind of influence does it have not only in our present day, but has it had in our past as well? And if we consider what people are like, we see both positive, negative, good, bad, and all kinds of different values that we could personify unto higher beings. But we also have to ask ourselves if we're causing more trouble by attempting to personify advanced beings with human traits. Some people suggest that if they were able to get so advanced to be on their own planet, that they would all have to be positive, or at least good enough to not be in a warring place anymore. So if that's the case, maybe they're not going to be negative. But some also subscribe to the notion that you have the bad factions versus the good factions, and they're interfering with our livelihood here, or being used for harvesting, for trafficking, or slave trade. And I think that there are a lot of key issues here that are being applied with not just what we have in our human history, but are again being personified with alien history and things that we see that could potentially be of extraordinary stature when you're dealing with extraterrestrial history. So when you're dealing with positive and negative, these are just human traits that could be applied throughout the galaxy and these different life forms. So it could very well be that you have good ones, bad ones, or maybe they've transcended that duality altogether and they're just beyond what we conceive as these simple constructs.